Ever wonder about what witnesses do on Steemit? Curious to know what projects and initiatives are in production to make your time on Steemit more productive? This is the podcast for you. Your co-hosts, Andre and Shane, will talk about witnesses, what they do, what projects they have in development, and what concerns about the blockchain and Steemit.com they're focused on. They'll also invite the men and women who run witness nodes onto the show to discuss their roles, responsibilities, and goals. Welcome to The State of the Witness. Steemit Incorporated, the writer's block, and their respective owners take no responsibility for the opinions or statements made by the talk show hosts or their guests. Statements and show topics are not necessarily the beliefs of the writer's block or of Steemit Incorporated. The material on the State of the Witness webcast is provided for educational and informational purposes only. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the State of the Witness podcast. As always, I am Anarcho Andre, witness, aspiring author, and I finished my first law school final yesterday. So today I'm riding high, and I am joined, as always, by the indomitable Shane. How's it going, Shane?
The indomitable, nice. I'm doing well. I got no microphone problems this week, not like the clusterfuck that was last week, so I'm good to go.
And what a fuck of clusters that was.
Oh, as clusters go, that was the fuckiest. Man.
So how are you doing, boss?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Hey, I'm going to drop a picture here in the chat. I want to show everyone. I want to show how cool I am compared to everyone else. I have a badge, and apparently I seem to be the only one. Other people I've talked to, they don't see this whenever they look around. Only I'm seeing this.
Wait, how does that work?
I don't know. I really don't know.
What is that?
Well, it's a little metal that...
well, obviously, I know it's a metal. I can see it.
Yeah, it's a metal with a... I know, but if people are just listening...
Sorry, go ahead.
It's like a little metal underneath your name there. And that one is a minnow. When you hover over it, it says minnow.
Huh.
Now, my other one, for my Minnow University account, is a little plankton, because that's a tiny account right now. And I made the picture a little bit wider to show that I am on Steemit.com and not on any of the other condensers.
I wonder if they've added that in. Because, I mean, Busy has had little badge support with, Minnow or Orca, Plankton, whatever, next to the badge, but it hasn't been a visual thing. It's just been a little, simple, nondescript icon.
Right. And Muxie, you just brought that up. I was about to say that. Over the Minnow Support Project, we were trying to get on the front page under the help section when a new user came on to be in there as resources. And we were told we'd have to change our name to like the new user help group, something to those lines, instead of Minnow Support, because Steemit Inc. did not like the idea of using minnow, dolphin, whale, etc. to describe the people on the platform. So now I see this, and this one's a plankton, and there's a minnow, so I don't know what to think.
I really think that what it's come down to, because obviously this is Steemit Inc. doing this. This is part of the condenser. It's not, this isn't any other website, and this isn't a plugin, so clearly they're the ones doing it. I wonder if they haven't just given up trying to fight that war, and they're just going with it since it's already like part of the culture.
Yeah, that's the only explanation that makes sense at this point. But I saw that. I just found that today, and I'm going
to look up my own account. I want to see this.
Ooh, do you think you have one?
Well, I mean, if it's a thing, I'm sure I do.
I wonder if Mux's is going to be a robot. That'd be kind of cool if it was.
Nope, I don't have one.
Nice. See, I'm special. But yeah, I was talking to Clayboyne. Clayboyne's over here a little bit. I think he does some curation with the MuxieBot crew, or at least he did at one point. Anywho, he was on there, said he couldn't even see it on my account. He was on my account and not there for him. So who knows?
That is strange. Cool, but strange.
Yeah, it's real strange. Real strange. So what's going on with you? What have you been up to?
Well, I've been studying a lot,
Finals, huh?
like a lot, a lot. Yes, I had my first final on
Wait a minute.
Thursday.
Kind of
It's
a contradiction, isn't it?
what?
A first final?
Well, no, not if a final is an ongoing process.
No, but well, I okay, fair enough. I'll take that.
Parallel
So,
computing, boss. There's parallel there's parallel courses, multiple things going on.
superior mental processing is allowing this to happen.
Hyper threading.
So,
That
how'd it go? How did
um, it went okay. I think. I think. I hope it did.
you know? I know that feeling. I when I graduated the physical therapy school, I went and had to take my licensure test. It's a national test, and I went in there and I left that test. And had I failed the test, I wouldn't have been surprised. Had I passed the test, I wouldn't have been surprised. They had actually designed that thing to make you second guess everything you knew. Fortunately, I ended up passing first try, but man, had I failed, I wouldn't have been shocked in the least.
Yeah, and I don't think I failed. I mean, I definitely think I did enough to pass, but I don't know exactly where I stand as far as the rankings go. So for those who aren't familiar at all, um, law school, generally speaking, law school does this, but my school in specific does this. They follow a curve. So, for example, if you score high enough to not fail the class, then you're going to pass, but your actual grade is determined by the scores of other students in the class. So, like for example, say you score like a 65, right? Which normally would be a D, barely be
Correct.
passing, scraping by, but it would be passing, right? It would be a D. Well, if the next highest grade in the class is a 71, then that bumps you up from D range into possibly B range.
Yeah,
So,
I've never. You know I know about the curve, the grading on the curve, but I've never really understood the idea behind it.
well, I think the idea is to just rank people relative to their actual performance, or rather relative to the performance of others in the class, rather than their actual performance on the test. And I would like to think that the reason it's done in law school is just because the tests are designed to be supremely difficult. They're not designed to where you can, you're liable to study enough and comprehend enough to where you'll be able to get a high score and you'll be able to be judged based on simply the merits of your understanding of the knowledge. I'd like to think that. Either that or if they didn't do it that way, too many people would fail, so it wouldn't look good.
I wonder how the lawyer that rocks down here in Austin scored. I showed you that picture, didn't I?
Did you? I don't think you did. I don't remember.
I'll have to see if I can find that real quick. So what was this test on? What was this class?
This particular class was about torts. It was about civil suits. It was, let's see, it was 60 multiple choice questions, and then it was 3 essay questions. The essay question, so it was 3.5 hours. The essay questions took 2 hours total. Or actually, that was how much time I had left over to do them. They probably actually would have taken more time. But so the essay questions took a little over 2 hours, and that was the majority, the bulk of the time. And then the other hour and 20 minutes was spent on the multiple choice. Oh, yeah, I have seen that. David Comey.
Yeah, David Comey, the attorney that rocks. He's got these billboards plastered everywhere in Austin, and I see that. And yeah, he plays in the band on the weekends, and
Sweet.
then, but he's a lawyer during the week and a rock star at the weekend.
Well, good for him. But yeah, this
But
particular one was about torts. So it was, like if you sue somebody for negligence, sue somebody for trespassing, breach of contract, that sort of thing.
so what was the main takeaways? Did you remember from your classes? Hit us with an example question.
An example question. All right, I got one because I actually ended up discussing this with another classmate. A property or a photographer contacts a property owner to get on their property to take pictures of some wild birds that are there, and the property owner refuses. Frustrated by the refusal, the photographer tries to access the property through a path that goes to the rear of the property line. The property owner has set up a fence with barbed wire on top and a no trespassing sign on it. The photographer climbs over the fence, gets cut on the barbed wire, and then subsequently dies from an infection while attempting to treat his injuries. Is the property owner liable for the injuries to the photographer?
Well,
I'm
that's a
just going to ask the question, and I just want to get your
yeah.
opinion.
As a general opinion, I would say yes, because in the no trespassing sign with the fence should be enough. In my opinion, the barbed wire is a little bit of overkill and a danger that may or may not be noticed if the sign is not noticeable. That's just the first thought that pops in my head.
Well, according to tort law, or at least here in the United States, um, you would be incorrect. So the correct answer is no, because the barbed wire was an apparent danger that the photographer could discern. And
Oh, okay.
the reason that's the case is because the barbed wire serves as a deterrent rather than a means to actively cause harm. So the whole purpose of the barbed wire being there is to deter people from attempting to climb the fence. Right? It's not like a spring gun or a turret or something that only activates when somebody gets close and then tries to kill them off. It's something that you can see, it's visible, it's plainly evident what it is, and it's on a noticeable boundary. So, in the eyes of tort law, generally speaking, in the eyes of tort law, there's nothing to be said about it. The property owner wouldn't be liable because the whole purpose of the barbed wire was to prevent people from climbing the fence, not for harming people on the way up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that actually does make sense. Yeah, and I'll completely buy that. But I sit there and I think about some of the lawsuits that are able to go through, and you never know what the answer may be.
The other thing I found out in studying torts is a lot of lawsuits that are filed are not filed for the purpose of winning.
Were they filed for the purpose of setting a precedent?
Well, no, because you don't set a precedent if you don't win. No, they're filed so
Well,
that the attorney can
oh,
make money off of the people. For example, Mike Slocum, the Alabama Hammer. That's basically what his gig is. He'll take any case, doesn't matter what case it is. He will take it and he will charge you for it. And he knows that a number of those cases are just completely bogus and they'll be dismissed, or they'll just be settled, or the plaintiff will just settle for pennies on the dollar. But he'll charge out the ass for it, and that's how he makes his money. Takes cases he knows aren't going to win.
I was listening, and I listen to stuff, and it's radio, so who knows what the actual reasonings are. And I've heard that sometimes that lawyers won't take cases unless they feel that the person they're talking to is someone that the community can get behind, especially if it's like a case that they want to take to the Supreme Court. That they need that sympathetic person, and they need the correct sympathetic person before the what they're trying to fight will they'll go through with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and no, that's true generally for higher profile cases. For small stuff like personal claims or personal injury stuff like that, it doesn't really matter. Like I said, Mike Slocum, his entire enterprise is built on just getting people to pay him to file some paperwork that he knows is going to just be dismissed out of hand. Now, he doesn't end up actually losing any cases. It's just what he files ends up being dismissed because they don't actually have a case.
Oh, I see. So he'll file anything.
Yes, exactly. Like
Gotcha.
the way the trial process works in civil courts and civil suits and basically in torts is a plaintiff has to demonstrate that they have a cause for relief. So you have tort law, which specifies, what the different kinds of torts are: battery, assault, negligence, negligent infliction of emotional distress. There's a whole bunch of different ones, right? So you look through those categories, you're like, okay, well, the injuries that you suffered are most likely like this. And then you lay out, okay, well, here's what happened, and here's how it satisfies the elements. So here's the case. And then they have to serve process on the defendant, and the defendant answers, and then they go before the judge. The judge sets a timeline for discovery, so each party asking the other for information or evidence so that they can make their case. Then it goes to trial. The two parties present their evidence, and usually it's in front of a jury. And then the jury decides based on the evidence what the facts of the case are, and then based on the facts, the judge rules whether or not the plaintiff is entitled to relief or whether the defendant is entitled to have the case dropped. Right? And so then that's it. The verdict is read, judgment is entered, whoever pays whoever. However, if you file a claim, you can file a claim that is incomplete, and it's upon the defendant to answer the claim and then make a motion to the judge to dismiss the case. So like the judge doesn't really have the authority to dismiss a case out of hand until the defendant has answered. Right? So even if you file a case brief or a complaint that is incomplete or doesn't actually state a cause for relief, it's upon the defendant to object to that.
And if they don't, then the case will go through at that point.
Well, if they don't, then what happens is then it becomes the judge's purview, because if they don't file an answer, then whatever is alleged in the complaint is assumed to be true because no response was ever made. So they take that to mean like, oh well, then you just accept that everything is true, right? Of course, that assumes that you properly serve the defendant, yada yada, all going through all the procedural rules. But if the defendant never answers, then yeah, the case just proceeds, and then a default judgment is entered if there's a case. Now, at that point, even if the defendant doesn't answer, if there just simply is not a case, like if your entire complaint is Steve looked at me in a really mean way, the judge can be
Steve's
like,
an
get out
asshole.
of here. Just get out of here. Go. Leave. Please leave.
Steve's an asshole, though.
However, you, as an attorney, can charge people for that. And lo and behold, there are plenty of attorneys in personal injury and small claims that do.
So, what are your thoughts on... Well, I'm asking a question here with really no knowledge on the subject, so please bear with me on this.
I am bearing with you. I'm going to strive together with you. Together we'll arrive at the truth.
We're going to lift each other on each other's shoulders. This will be great.
These broken wings.
Oh, nice little Mr. Yes. So, you have to be served papers of some sort if a lawsuit is against you. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. If you are filing a complaint, one of the things that you have to do as a plaintiff is serve process, or essentially, provide notice to a defendant of what's happening. And generally speaking, whatever jurisdiction you're in is going to have specific rules about what qualifies as due process. So like when you talk about the Constitution and the due process clause, that's part of what it's talking about, that you properly notify the defendant as to what's going on.
So if I'm to understand correctly, and this may be a state-by-state thing, that there is no signature required when papers are served. It's on the word of the person that does the serving.
Well, I mean, for example, if no papers are served and a default judgment is entered, and then the person tries to use the court to collect from the default party, the default party can come back and be like, I never got any notice, so I don't know what you're talking about. So, I mean, like I said, there's different procedures in different states, but they generally all follow the same kind of line as far as what's acceptable and then how you present evidence that process was served. Usually you use a process service. The infamous process server who walks up to your place and like knocks on your door and throws a piece of paper at you after you identify yourself as the person on the papers. But usually they'll keep records, or if the law firm does it themselves, they have records of everything going on as far as whether or not process was served. But it is assumed by the court that process was served unless an objection to it is raised. So I guess to answer your question, no signature is required. However, it's in the firm that's representing the plaintiff's best interest to keep meticulous records, such that if the defendant wants to object or ask for the case to be dismissed because of improper service, the plaintiff's lawyers can be like, no, we served you. It's right here, so you can't weasel your way out of this one.
Yeah, I guess I'm just curious how that works if there's no signature. It's just sort of a word against a word at that point.
Well, because the entire point is if the defendant shows up, then clearly they were served with notice that they had a proceeding against them.
Oh, well, I guess that makes sense too, doesn't it?
Otherwise, they wouldn't
Yeah.
have shown up, right? I mean, like if you didn't know that you had proceedings against you, what are the what are the odds that you just randomly show up in the same courtroom and then know what's going on so that you can, file an answer with the court? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So if someone doesn't show up, then there's the possibility, or how does that work then?
No, if somebody doesn't show up, it is assumed that the defendant did not respond. So, again, the court works on the assumption that process was served properly. Now, if it was not served properly, the process for or the procedure for a defendant not showing up to court basically assumes that the defendant was served and the defendant just for whatever reason decided not to show up or decided to ignore it. So the court proceeds as though the defendant chose not to be involved and accepts all of the allegations made by the plaintiff as true. So that being the case, the judge will then look at the case and be like, okay, well, there's a cause for relief. If all of these facts are assumed to be true, which they are because the defendant didn't answer and isn't here, then you win. You're awarded X number of dollars in damages, and a default is entered, and then a default judgment is rendered, which then allows the plaintiff to try and collect from the defendant. Now, once the plaintiff tries to collect from the defendant, if the defendant wasn't actually served with process, then it's going to become very apparent very quickly that they're like, "What the fuck are you doing? Why are you trying to take my shit? I have no idea who you are or what you're doing here." And so they go to the court and be like, Your Honor, I don't know what's going on, but some guy just tried to show up at my house and repossess my car." At which point the court suspends the order to pay, and they go through proceedings to determine whether or not process was served properly, right? But the entire
Gotcha.
the entire the entire court system works on the assumption that whatever's being presented to the court is in fact true until it's proven not true.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. So basically, what you're telling me is my buddy's full of shit.
What'd your buddy say?
He said he was never served, and
Did he
then
go to court?
no.
So how does he know he wasn't served?
Well, I mean, he's saying he wasn't served. So,
Well, right, I know. Well, I
um,
mean, I understand that part, but like when he says he wasn't served, what is it in reference to? I mean, if he wasn't aware that there were proceedings against him, how was he aware that he wasn't served notice? Is what I'm getting at.
he got he got a default judgment thing in the mail.
Okay, so did he go to court and contest it?
Oh, I have no idea. That's what I told him to do, but who knows?
Jesus. Okay. All right,
I
just
haven't.
for everybody listening, for everyone listening to the show, all three people that are listening to the show, if you ever get a notice in the mail that a default judgment has been entered against you, which the court is required to send a notice out. So the court sends out a notice if a default judgment is entered against you. If that ever happens, go to court and contest that shit if you haven't been served with notice. Now, if you've been served with notice and you just were like, well, screw this, I'm going to throw this in the trash, then that's on you. There's nothing I can say to help you out. But if you ever see a notice of default judgment in your mail, go raise an objection in the court. Go to the court and be like, I don't know what this is and I was never served.
Yeah, you'll see. The thing is, I wouldn't put it past my buddy if he was served and just ignored it.
Well, and as it's been explained to me by a couple of the law professors who did litigation like that, very often the case is that the defendant tries to claim that they weren't served, but then records are given by the plaintiff's lawyers showing that they were served. So yeah.
So that pretty much ends it, no matter what.
Yeah, it does. If you attempted to move for a case to be dismissed because of improper service, and then proof of service is presented, then yeah, that motion fails.
Cool. So what else is happening? That's about all I can take on lawyer talk for a day.
That's a shame because I love lawyer talk. I'm actually really getting into this. I didn't think I'd be nearly as excited about this as I am, but I'm really getting into this.
You're getting into this question then? All right.
Well, no, just
See, I don't know what else.
lawyer talk in general. It's interesting. I can't wait to have my own like legal advice thingy going on Steemit. I think that'll be a lot of fun. It'll be really enjoyable.
I think you should become a Narco Andre, the attorney that rocks out of Alabama.
A narco Andre, attorney at law.
I'm telling you, that's a good idea. You know, billboards up with your face plastered all over it.
Well, that's what I was gonna go with, Honest Andy. If you can't trust Honest Andy, who can you trust?
You got 1,500? I'll put it here. Put it here in my suit pocket.
No money, no problem. And
Your credit is good at Honest Andy.
And in small fine prints, like the retainer fee is like $10,000 a month, and if you don't pay it, then you're going to be collected against, and judgment will be entered in against you for breach of contract.
You're going to end up losing your license, aren't you?
Probably not, because I don't know. I don't really have any plans to be like a lawyer. Like I have a lawyer job waiting for me after I get done, just as a corporate lawyer.
Yeah,
but I mean that's not really what I want to do. I guess I don't really want to be I don't really want to be a litigator. Like that doesn't really interest me as much as like the theory and just the knowledge portion of it, the knowledge aspect of it. If I could get a job teaching law, that would be freaking awesome.
So how does that work? This is your first semester, correct?
Yes.
How in the world do you have a job waiting for you already?
Because I have a friend who is thinking about incorporating several of his businesses, and he is waiting on me to finish my degree so that I can be his first representative on his legal team.
Wow, look at you.
Pays to know people.
Yeah, I'll say, look at you. Good for you.
Well, we'll see if it falls through or not. This is my friend Dave we're talking about, so I may or may not happen. Likely to, but it may also not happen.
Hey, my buddy's name was Dave also.
Was he as much of a Dave as my Dave is?
The Daves are Dave, yes.
Okay, good. It's good to see that some things are universal. All right, but enough about the lawyer talk. Let's talk about something that you want to talk about.
What do I want to talk about tonight?
I don't know, your inability to type words properly.
Oh, I cannot type to save my life. It's getting worse.
Dealgations and wear on bots.
Well, you a-hole. Yeah, the war on bots. What have you been paying attention to this?
I noticed that you ended the Upgoder.
I did end Upgoder. I actually closed its doors last night. Put it on bounce mode, so any payment comes back, it's bounced back almost immediately. And I'm just using it to throw some upvotes around the platform at this point.
Of all the bid bots, I liked Upgoder the most because you left goat pictures. That was funny.
I didn't leave goat pictures.
Who was it then?
It was Minnow Booster.
Oh, poop. Never mind.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I associated the two, but they always had goat pictures and said you've been upgoated, so I always assumed that was the Upgoder.
Let's go ahead and play a game of know your co-host.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize.
No. I still think bid bots have a place, especially when they get small. When they get big, like Belly Rub did, and all the hell that broke out through Belly Rub this week. Yeah, there's some issues going on. The smaller ones, I think, do have some value for the platform, but the writing is on the wall. These bots are not being welcomed anymore. So I made the decision to close Upgoder down.
What happened with Belly Rub? Because like I said, I've been out of it for like the last week.
Ooh, boy, yeah, there was a lot of drama with Belly Rub.
When
So,
isn't there?
in a true. Um, I mean, besides the the copy pasting of other people's work on the blog, but that was the first note. That was about a month and a half ago that that information sort of leaked out that Steam Cleaners was about to nuke that account. But then all of a sudden, Belly Rub just sort of went rogue, started downvoting 100% people, upvoting themselves. Um, the person behind it, named Zyardle, just sort
Oh,
of
Zertool. Okay, all right.
Zyrtl, yeah.
So, okay. I am mildly familiar with this, but go on, please.
So Zyrtl just sort of disappeared, then claimed that the bot was sold, um, offering really no proof that the bot was sold, and now is claiming that all three accounts were hacked and siphoning money out of Steemit, leaving a lot of people high and dry that did some did a deposit in there with a promised return. The first 2 months were paid out. The third month, when everything was the deposit was meant to be returned, along with the interest, that's about the time that all of a sudden this blew up. Which a convenient time to get hacked, I believe, according to him, right before that third payout. So everything has been moved off, and it looks like it was just a giant long scam the entire time.
Oh, that's nice. That's great. That just builds confidence.
Yeah, yeah, it's
I know if I
it,
was an investor and I saw that, I'd be like, "Hoo, wait, this is a sure bet."
so yeah, there's a lot of people pissed. Apparently, a couple of the other witnesses. I don't know if you've seen the witness chat. They have found out the guy's real name and address and everything. So we'll see what happens from that. They haven't doxed him yet, but they have the information.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's ooh. Yeah,
Uh
Zertool's in
huh.
for some shit.
Yeah, and I guess a little bit of they've done a little searching back, and apparently he's sort of done this before. Something about 88 Bitcoin gone missing with him at one point.
Holy shit. Well, I mean, I'm sure that
Yep,
was before Bitcoin was, worth $10,000 a coin, but still.
exactly, exactly. It was I think it was around the thousand range, but still, we're still talking 88,000 at that point. Whew, that's rough.
Jesus. And the sad part is he made graphics for the Fiction Workshop. Not bad ones
Yeah,
either. I
right.
didn't think
And
he was a bad guy.
he made graphics for Minnow Support. Um,
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, did everything just right for that long con to go through.
Well, I will give it to him. He plays the long game. So I can't
Yeah,
help but admire that. But overall,
yeah,
that's
yeah. I
just
mean,
despicable.
yeah, I know what you're saying there. As you sit back and you're like, wow, that's one hell of a long con. So he donated 120 SBD for a Lisp and beer. Yeah, you see that, but at the same time, he sort of bilched off with however many thousand Steam from other people.
And the really crummy part is there's really no way to know that this is going to happen prior to it actually happening, especially with, somebody who can play a game like that and really just kind of drive home the image. Oh yeah, I'm a great guy, part of the community. I'm definitely trying to help everybody out. Yeah, go Steam. And
See,
until it happens, you really don't know.
right, and that's one of the problems with the platform, where you can be anonymous. That you really need to vet. You really have to make sure that what you do here is on the up and up, because it is very easy to be taken if you're not careful.
Well, yeah, and that goes back to this whole idea of caveat emptor, right? Buyer beware. Um, which I mean, I think that's just solid advice for anybody to follow at pretty much any point in time in their lives.
Oh,
With
absolutely.
on a platform like Steemit, it's a little bit harder just because of how little you actually know about the people you're dealing with. When you go into a used car lot, you see the used car salesman. You can generally kind of start to identify and pick up on their demeanor and their behavior and what they're saying and how they're presenting it. On Steemit, it's a little bit harder because you don't have that direct face-to-face contact.
Right. So there's that little extra layer of trust that you have to give on this platform sometimes for things to happen.
And I mean, honestly, the whole issue with the bid bots, I mean, I'm with you. I think there could be a place for them. Honestly, with how much abuse has happened recently with them, I think we're just better off moving away from that kind of that bot model in general and just kind of leaving it off. So I on the one hand, yeah, it's kind of crummy that this happened, but on the other hand, it was a good it was a good way to rally the community as far as them moving in one direction and getting a solid response on a particular issue, which of
Yeah.
course is usually the problem with trying to get a unified response about anything on the platform.
Yeah, yeah, and there was a wave of that happening to begin with, and this whole belly rub situation just sort of solidified. And as soon as that happened, I'm like, "Yep, that ends up Goater right there." It's not a good PR move to try to argue the point that it's still good when the many whales and dolphins are out there saying, "No, this is no longer how things need to be run."
It's funny though. This goes back to what I was talking about regarding etiquette for flagging, right? And you are the perfect example of what I'm talking about. The public outcry over particularly egregious behavior has provided incentive for you to shut down the thing that the people don't like.
Right, right, right.
It didn't require any central authority. It didn't require any, arm twisting or anything like that. You realized that your reputation would be put on the line if you continued to push what you were providing to the community as far as a particular service. So you decided, you know what, my reputation's worth more than whatever I'm going to get out of this bid bot. So I'm just going to go ahead and shut it down and leave it at that, and we'll call it quits. So that again, it's just another example of the ability of social standards to arise in a decentralized context like we have on Steam, and unlike there are in other places that utilize blockchains where there is no central authority controlling what is or isn't done.
Well, I think one could make the argument that there are enough whales and dolphins out there, enough whales that there kind of is a central authority. Um, if a whale gets pissed off and they're going to start downvoting or flagging anything they don't agree with, they sort of become the authority. And there's a small enough group of them that who knows if they'll ever work together, but if they decided to, you could definitely see a government type system in this.
Well, yeah, but the other problem with that is people would just leave, and then they would be stuck with what? Like, what would they have? They wouldn't have anything. So
Agreed.
there's an inbuilt disincentive against that particular kind of behavior.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I can see your point. Um, but there's enough circle jerking going around, and there's enough new people coming onto the platform that they may be able to keep that going for a while. I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Well, I think they would be able to keep it going for a while because Steam has a reputation already. But if they decided to just one day for shits and giggles because they were feeling like authoritarian dickholes to just take control of the platform, well, I mean, number one, I don't think they'd be able to because the Steam Inc. Account would just wreck all of them. But in the second place, if it didn't, assuming that didn't happen, um, people would just leave the platform in droves. I mean, we already had people leaving the platform because of perceived inequality. Can you imagine how much worse that exodus would be if whales were actively colluding together to control what was going on?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a dark day, wouldn't it? Definitely would be.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be here for much longer. Much as I like the platform, I don't think I'd hang around.
So there was a little bit of that going on, where the writers block community sort of banded together with Transistor with the downvoting that was going on with his account that he was doing. What came of that? What do you know on this situation? I was just sort of on the periphery, just watching in because it happened when I wasn't on the board, so I didn't get to see exactly what happened and what the resolution was.
Well, so far I haven't seen anything else come of it, so I don't see any more flags, any additional flags in that particular vein. I could be wrong. Like I said, I haven't really been around for most of this week. But I haven't seen any more activity going along that same line. I mean, Transisto's still here. Gmux mentioned it. Transisto pops in every once in a while. I've seen him make a couple of mentions in general, I think. But I haven't noticed anything negatively impacting fiction or specific fiction authors.
Good, good. I do see that the one account that what's her name, Michelle Gent, is still. There's a little bit of a war going on against that particular account, but I don't think that's necessarily fiction in general, and more with just her.
Yeah, well, I think it has something to do with the fact that she decided that she wasn't, in response to the flagging, she was going to start shit post. Well, not shit posting, but she was just going to post no particularly uh, quality work, like quality literary work. So it's just going to be random posts. So I think it has more to do with that and their personal beef rather than it being targeted towards a specific genre of posts.
Gotcha, gotcha. Because yeah, I had it in my head that it was a genre there for a while. So posting work previously available on Amazon. Is it her own work, or is that yes, was
Yeah,
her
it's
own
it's her
work?
own work.
So what's the general consensus on this? I thought if it was your own work, um, boo. A general consensus is boo.
And actually, we've talked about this regarding the Steam House, the publishing imprint that we want to get started at the writer's block, with regards to publishing previously released work. So it's considered extremely bad form to offer something on Amazon and charge customers, and then turn around and release it for free somewhere else. And it's even been noted that Amazon will sometimes force you to price match where you are going to have to offer it for free on Amazon if it's available freely somewhere else. Like Amazon is going to make that decision for you.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and like Gmux just wrote in the audience chat, we wrote a post about that, and apparently Transista was very very happy with that. Which I
Good.
can understand because it's the same place that he's kind of coming from. Is where like it's if you're gonna make money off of it elsewhere, you know, make money on it there, or if you're gonna release it for free, release it for free. But you can't double dip. Basically, is what it comes down to.
I gotcha. Yeah, that's fair enough. Understood that. I just trying to get caught up on the situation because I've been a little bit of everywhere, a little bit of hands in all sorts of cookie jars, so I'm not getting full stories on anything any these days.
Well, that's all right because I'm I haven't been around enough to really know what's going on, so I feel you on that one. How's
All
your
right.
witness running?
I was about to ask you the same thing. It's running 32 gigabytes, running strong, no missed blocks. Yeah, that's about it. Picked up a couple of votes this week I was happy with. Um, yeah, besides that, it's same old, same old. I got Minnow University running. Hopefully that helps. Um, uh, what I just lost my train of thought. Zombie came into the Blame Shane channel and asked a question, and it's a good idea. And I actually have a tool that should be released for curators that will work in conjunction with Discord um, that I hope to have up and going here in the writer's block on Minnow University and possibly in Minnow Support here in the next week. Hopefully next week. So I'm looking forward to that. So the idea behind this is you find something that your group wants to curate when you write a comment on that person's blog and put in a command, whether it be well for everyone is familiar with the $ upvote in Minnow Support. So we'll just use that as the example. You could type $upvote and it will grab the URL and place that URL in a designated Discord channel. So instead of having to copy paste everything over, you can just type it in on the post and it will collect in a channel where your curation team can see.
Nice. That is very convenient. It's a
Yeah,
trawler.
it is, and I'm kind of hoping. I know there is a problem with. Oh, pardon me. I just took a drink of water. It didn't go down right. Anyway, I know there's a problem with teams trying to curate and other curation teams stealing that idea because they know it's out there. It doesn't completely solve that, but I think it may be a little bit easier to help collect the curation that the groups are looking for.
I think so. I certainly think it would make collating the results a lot easier because that way you don't have to. Yeah, it's like you said. Everybody can be watching the room, and they don't have to. They don't have to go out and copy paste. They can just leave a comment. Bam, good to go. Keep looking for
Yeah,
more.
yeah. So hopefully that'll be available by next week. Keeping my fingers crossed.
Good on you, boss. Good on you. As far as my witness goes, it's been chugging along. It's been plugging along steadily, and my 32 gigabytes is coming in handy. Everything is working for now.
Yeah. You gonna do the when are you gonna do the second server again?
That's going to be coming either tomorrow or the next day. Probably tomorrow while I'm at work, is when I'm gonna set up the next one.
Look
Since
at
it's the
you.
first of the month and everything.
So when I get my second server, you're gonna be able to help me get the fallover script running.
Yes, I will. It's actually very, very simple to use in Dracos. God bless Dracos. The man is a machine. But his
Good,
failover script is very, very easy to install. So yeah, it shouldn't be an issue.
good, good. I saw that we did have some witnesses fall out. Let me jump into that page. I saw the Prophet Zero is now disabled
Ooh, here, let me see. Oh, yeah, yes, he is.
and has been for a couple days now. So yeah, I really haven't seen him on Steam in months and months. When the Minnow Support Project started, I saw him around a little bit, and then I think he moved over to EOS, however you want to pronounce it.
EOS, yeah.
Yeah, EOS, or maybe Peer Plays, one of those two. And I think he spends most of his time working on that.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That's actually I noticed that's happened to a number of people. So
The last one you won the plane fare to Steam Fest, that was early on in MSP, Mux. That was real early on.
wow, yeah,
Wow.
that was a while ago.
So what was that? Was that late June, early July?
I think so.
Yeah. Wow, yeah. So it's been a while. So I saw that went down. Yeah, I'm interested to see who else doesn't keep up whenever this 32 gigabytes is 100% mandatory to keep running.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. Well, I mean, honestly, at this point, it pretty much is. I mean, the memory requirements have exceeded 15 gigabytes, so we're already at the point where 16 is not sufficient, unless you have like an SSD swap. But even then, I don't think you're going to get much more than like 5 or 6 more gigabytes of active storage out of your hard drive.
Yeah, it's a mess. Uh,
And the other problem is trying to run a solid state drive as RAM is going to damage the drive over time. So it's not like it's a long term solution.
yeah, it's a short term until you can get one set up,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. I haven't gone anywhere. I am at 91. I'm no longer 90, so I need to change my nickname. But I'm at 91 now. I have picked up a couple of voters. It hasn't made a ton of difference, but it's nice to have the support. Maybe one of these
Yeah.
days I'll crack 100 witness votes. That'd be cool.
Hey, I hit, speaking of that, I did hit 200 witness votes.
Yes, you
Um,
did.
yeah. So that's nice. Look at that. I'm sitting there at 89 and effective rank of 79.
No,
Whee!
yeah, effective rank of 81, actual rank 91. Sad days. I wish I could get a
so,
pumpkin upvote.
yeah, me too. So, how many blocks are you seeing these days?
It's between 3 and 4. The way that the timing works, if I get a block early enough in the day at like 12:30, 1 o'clock, I can actually end up with having 4 blocks in a day. But usually it's 3.
Yeah, that I was sort of seeing that when I still had the Bernie boat, where I was running between 7 and 8. If it hit early enough, I would have 8. It was like 7, 7, 8. Seven,
Yep.
seven,
Yeah,
eight
exactly. Exactly.
was the pattern. Besides that, not really much on the witness front. It's just up and running and going well. So
I haven't
not
spent
really
enough
much
time
to.
in witness chat to really have a good appraisal of like anything new coming up. Got to talk to follow BTC News and Crimmy and see what they're doing, what they're up to.
Oh, they're releasing tools as always.
Oh,
They've
always,
got
always.
tools. Man, they've got a lot of tools.
They've got tools for days.
So I was seeing something, and I didn't get a time to really read it. But what? Why can I not think of anyone's name tonight? Um,
The same reason you think
ATS.
it's called delegation.
I hope you failed. What do you think about that, huh?
Anyway, ATS David. Yeah, he's running a witness
A-
node now.
yeah, he's running a witness, and I saw his thoughts on getting rid of the delegation, the whole idea of delegation, getting rid of it. He thinks that is what has caused Steam to not grow as fast as it needs to, because you can just rent. There's no real incentive to buy if you can just rent and have a little bit more.
Yeah, and you know what? I totally appreciate that sentiment. I really do, because the rental fees for delegations, I mean, was it through Minnow Booster? You could do, what was it? I think it was 40 SBD for like 10, was it 10,000 SP? Something like that. If you paid like 40 SBD, you get 10,000 SP for like a
For like one
week.
week.
Yeah, like a week or something.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the exact price, but yeah,
It
that
was something like that. It was like
right.
a very, very small amount for a huge delegation. Huge delegation. Like 10,000 SP is a ton of SP. That's at this point right now, given the prices, that's over $10,000 of investment for 40 SBD, which you can make in like 2 weeks.
You can, yeah, you definitely can, absolutely. So yeah, I saw that, and I tend to agree with them. And I mean, you're talking to someone who has done a lot of delegation rentals because of Upgoder, and even with our Slider Fest that Mux and I run on the Shane and Muxie show, we do a lot of rentals. But yeah, I can see the point where that sort of hurts the price.
Well, I mean, like I said, for if you earn 40 SBD out of the rewards pool and then you turn it right back around and lease 10,000 SP so that you can go right back around and earn 40 SBD and lease some. It doesn't do anything. Nothing is changing. The only thing that's happening is the reward pool is being rearranged, right? Either it's being
Right.
rearranged or it's drained when people actually take it out of the system and trade it out for something else. So
So yeah, we'll see.
I'm with them on that. If we got rid of delegation, I don't think it would necessarily be a bad thing. I think at first it would be kind of chaotic and there would be a lot of people like grumbling about it, but I think ultimately it would probably be a better way to go.
Yeah, I'm starting to think the same thing. Of course, that's nothing really that we control. We still need that to come from Steemit Inc. So, that's nothing that we can make a decision on and implement as witnesses unless it's presented to us as a fork.
Well, yeah, and even then it's not really up to us, it's up to the top 20.
Right. Well, exactly.
But
Exactly.
we have
Uh,
voices. Our names are on a list or something.
1/8 of a vote. Um,
Yay!
we're in there. I'm a witness. I can prove it. So, but yeah, besides that, not much is happening this week as far as witnesses go. So, I don't.
I also think if we got rid of delegations, we would probably single-handedly solve the bot problem. Because I
Oh,
think,
yeah, of
I
course
mean,
you would.
like as it stands right now, most of the issue with bots and the way bots are happening right now is through delegations. I mean, it's not
Oh,
through
yeah.
people actually sending money and then the bots turning that into Steam power. It's delegated Steam power, and a ton of it.
Yeah, mine was definitely delegated. Now there are some people that are running bots on their own. Um, so yeah, it's an interesting thought. I know the Marky Mark is, boy, he's spending a lot of money for his delegations, um, and so was Ziyardle up until he decided not to pay anybody. Um,
Well, yeah, you know.
but yeah, it gets expensive. I was fortunate enough that Upgoder was profitable, not insanely profitable, but I did make more than what I spent. So I'm happy, I guess, as happy as I can be.
I mean, ultimately, I think we're not going to have much of a say on it, but I like that somebody's talking about it at least, because that wasn't really an issue that had even come to mind. I didn't think there was even much of an interest in discussing whether delegations are going to stay around or not. I figured they would. So at least it's nice that the issue's being brought up because I mean he's like I said he's got a point and I tend to agree with him.
Yeah, and anyone listening, there is nothing that is imminent. This is just a little light water cooler talk, if you will. Yeah, linear rewards is probably the main thing that brought about the bots. Delegation sort of combined with the two.
Yes, and I've been trying to. Of course, I mean I don't really know much about reward curves in general. I know the difference between n squared and n. Like I'm not a complete math, dum dum. But as far as coming up with a better curve, I really don't know enough to speak intelligently about it. But I don't see any reason why there couldn't be something less than n squared. Because
Yeah,
I mean the whole idea is that like n squared is just way too sharply balanced in one direction, and linear rewards are balanced too far in the other direction, right? Or at least that was my understanding of the conflict between the two.
that's my basic understanding. Also, yes.
So why not something like N 1.3 or 1.2? I mean, I'm certain it's got to be doable. You can't tell me that you can't do um, an exponent with a decimal point in it.
Yeah, you should be able to. There shouldn't be any reason why you can't.
Or maybe you can. Maybe you have to use whole numbers. In which case, fuck. I guess I sound like
I
a
don't.
moron.
Well, welcome to the club, buddy.
It's like
Welcome
every
to the
day for
club.
me. It's fine. Not a big deal.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough being us.
Well, the world's hard, and it's a lot harder when you're stupid.
It is harder, but you're happier, aren't you?
I sure am.
I've had a rough week at work, man. I'm on call tomorrow, so there's no Shane and Muxie's show.
Oh, that
So
sucks.
yeah,
What's been
so
going on at
like
work?
every 6 weeks they put me. I have an on call weekend, so it's rotating, and tomorrow's mine. And I do like my job. I like the company I work for, but a question. Uh, oh wait a minute. Rat Bastard has a question that we should probably get to before I go into my moaning and whining about life. Um,
Yes, let's.
Rat Bastard, question from a newbie: what's in it for a witness? Anarcho, you
Yes,
want to take
at
that?
yeah. Well, as Shadows Pub pointed out,
That's right,
at
Pub.
mine and Shane's level, sweet bugger all. Pretty much nothing. We're actually out of pocket on most of what we do. Well, I don't know. Shane, like, are you still out of pocket on your stuff,
I get the I
or are
get
you pretty
four.
close?
I get a solid 4 a day. 4 times 30 is 120. Um, Steam. I know we're paid point 0.9, so let's just call it 120 for because my brain can't math tonight. 120 Steam. I pay $65 a month. Whatever the Steam equivalent of that tends to be when it's time to pay. So I am coming out ahead. Yeah, I'm definitely ahead of where I would be if I just pay cash. But yeah, no, I'm not getting rich over it. That's for sure.
Yeah, until you get to the point where you're solving about I want to say about like 8 blocks a day is really where you start to really break even and come out a little bit ahead. Not really by much, but enough to where like if you were to power down, you could actually use that money to purchase your server fees back every month.
So the question is, what's in it for us? Um, Money wise, not really anything, but I do like being a witness. I do like being considered someone that is trying to help the blockchain run efficiently, run correctly. That's the main thing that I'm getting out of it right now is just that satisfaction. And there is a little bit of satisfaction with that, no matter, I don't know how you feel, but that's what I think.
Yeah, no, there's I get an intense sense of satisfaction being because like being a witness is being part of a category of people that have um, invested into the platform a little bit more than just okay, I'm here, I'm writing, and I'm talking to people, right? So you you put yourself out as somebody who has interest in where the platform's headed and what the platform's doing, and somebody that people can come to with their questions and their concerns. And I like being in that position. I mean, I know that sounds kind of like, oh yeah, I love being, I love being a powerful person. I'm really not a powerful person. This is not a position of power unless you're in the top 20, and unless you're a dev and a really really good dev at that, you're probably not going to get there. So, and I accept that. I accept I'm never really going to get rich on this scheme, but I like being considered somebody who's who has care of the community, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, that's well said. But just so you know, I will be top 20 at some point eventually. I'm not talking anytime soon, but it will happen.
Am I still going to be on your voting roll when you're top 20?
We'll see. We'll see how this plays out.
Oh no,
What do you think about that, huh?
that's
Huh?
savage. God, my life is so empty now. I was hoping I would ride your coattails to the top, but now here I am rethinking all of my choices.
Yeah, I don't plan on changing any of my votes anytime soon. So yeah, you're good for a while. You're good just for a while. Just keep up the good work you're doing.
So what are you doing for me lately is what you're saying, in other words.
No, I'm not saying that at all. That's what
Not
you're
yet.
putting in my
Not
mind.
yet, right?
Not yet. Not yet. No. No, it's yeah, and I say that. No, I'd like to see myself around 50. That would be a comfort zone for a good long while. Um, if I hit that, I think I would be satisfied
Hell, if
with.
I hit 70, I would be satisfied.
Well, yeah, yeah, I was there. Um, it's on a it's on a dedicated server, not here at my house. So I do rent the server space, and the main thing exactly, RAM is the main thing. CPU a little bit, but RAM is exactly what you need. So, and it's not even computational power. Our ranking has nothing to do with how strong the computer is. It's who has voted on us. We work on a delegated proof of stake, which means which means the more people vote for us, the higher up the rank we go.
And the more blocks whether we receive to solve. Now,
Exactly.
obviously the RAM usage is going to depend on, how much blockchain there is to process, right? So RAM does play a portion into it, only because if you miss blocks, you're going to lose votes, but your votes
Mm,
determine how many blocks you get.
right. So, and speaking of that, also, um, taking this back to the bots, uh, the spam comments. I'm wondering how much of that has really increased the load that we're doing.
And I asked a question about this to Netuoso about the because I think we talked about with Crimson Clad the other day, or the last episode that we were on, and
Well, you might have. I might not be able to hear the whole thing
oh
since
yeah, well,
because
no, this was after that. This was after that. I thought it was. Anyway, so my question ended up being, at what point in time is Steam going to require more than 20 witnesses in order to effectively be able to process at a base level? So, because like right
oh yeah
now,
yeah yeah yeah
well,
yeah.
yeah, like so like right now we're at 20 witnesses are the minimum amount necessary in order to actually process the blockchain at a reasonable pace. Um, Now, eventually, I think it's going to require more people than that. But I asked Netuoso about that, and he said that that's not going to happen for quite a long time. Like, even right now, blocks aren't completely filled when they're being signed. So we're nowhere near the point where we're going to need to really ramp up how many witnesses are actively signing blocks.
And that may be a case of if Steam, for whatever reason, gets picked up as an actual currency that people would be spending out in the real world, and we'd have to do a ton of transactions, then that may be a point where we'd really have to ramp up. But just for blogging purposes, probably not.
Yeah, I don't think there's even really a concern about filling up all the blocks that we're getting to sign until, I mean, hell, I don't even think with a million users we'd even have that issue. It'd have to be even bigger than that.
Oh wow, that's impressive. There is a real world, believe it or not. I was
I
out
don't
there
know what
earlier.
that is.
I was out there earlier today. I stopped by a 7-Eleven. There are these little places called quick stops.
What?
Yes, you can go in and get yourself a Slurpee soda, get yourself a little snacky snack, and get yourself back on the road real quick, and some
There are
gasoline
roads?
for your vehicle.
What is a
Yeah,
road? What is a
yeah, yeah.
road?
Road.
Road.
who, who maintains these roads?
But who will build the roads?
Yeah, I didn't even know these roads existed.
Seriously, though, Geek, who's going to build the roads? Who will build the roads?
So,
Oh,
Rat Bastard, yeah, it's better to be in good standing. Uh, the more well known you are, the better a witness you're going. The better your witness is going to do. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a good witness. It just means that your server will probably get voted up the ranks a little bit quicker.
you do better if you're not a douche. That's pretty much
Exactly.
as simple as it gets. The less of a douchebag you are, the better off you're going to be. How many people are active on Steam? I think last I looked on SteamDB, it was. Well, actually, when you're asking about people being active, what time frame do you consider active? Are you talking about like within the last 24 hours, last 3 months, or
Per week.
Well, I'm going to load up Steamed here in just a second, and I'll take a look and I'll tell you.
Yeah, we're going to find out here. I'm interested to hear this myself.
If Steam will ever loads.
Isn't that nice? Here we are
Which
talking
it probably
about
won't, because it doesn't anymore. Or it hasn't, or at least it hasn't for me the last like 5 times I've tried to use it. Some bitch.
Come to Steam it where everything works perfectly all the time.
The rules are made up and the points don't matter. Oh, yeah, error 522. There we go. That's woohoo. All right.
Isn't that nice? Tons. Was that SteamDB or Steamed?
Steamed.
Yeah. Steamed is usually pretty solid though.
Well, the thing is, Steamed doesn't keep the they redirect you like for the activity graphs to tell you like how many active posting users there are. That's not on Steamed. It's on a separate service called Steemle, STEEMLE.com.
I'm
Or
not
Steam
familiar
LE,
with
I don't know,
Steemle.
whatever. I'm not either, but that doesn't load anymore, so I'm not really sure where to go to look for that now. I'm just gonna toss a hook in the water and see what bites. But in the meantime, let's talk about your day at work.
Oh yeah, let me get back to whining. How many votes to make a witness? 0. You don't need any votes to be a witness. You just need the votes to receive blocks. You can have a server up and running with no blocks coming to it with 0 votes. Wouldn't make much sense to do so, but it is theoretically possible. So my day at work, I'm going to whine about work. So I'm on call this weekend, and like I said, I like the company I'm working for, but sometimes they make some silly decisions. And the silly decision was for my on call this weekend, where I noticed that my first patient was we're broken into north and south. Let me get to that. Doesn't he moan? Come on, Mux. So we're broken in north and south. We have a north section and a south section. I work the south section of Austin, and especially on weekends, I cover the entire south region of Austin. And I noticed that the first patient that popped up for my on call was north, way north, like about 70 miles north of where I am. Is my first patient tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, that's not too bad. I get paid mileage. I get on call rate, and I'm paid, for my drive. I'm on the clock while I'm driving. Then another patient pops on, and another, and another, and another. I have 6 patients tomorrow for a weekend, which is silly. It's just damn silly, Andre. Silly.
Holy Jesus.
Yeah.
That's savage, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So my Saturday, I'm going to have to leave about, I don't know, 8:15 in the morning to hit a 9:30 appointment. I'll be on the clock the entire time, but I probably won't be getting home until 5 p.m. on a Saturday. That stinks.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, bud. I am. That really does sound like it sucks. So I feel bad for you.
In the little, napkin math, I think I'm going to be doing about almost 200 miles tomorrow.
200 miles of driving altogether.
Yes. You know, go bend some knees, make some people cry and hurt, and
Sweet.
they can ask me how they can get more drugs. Yeah, so that's my whining.
Oh, good, good. Well, that's all right. That's not too terrible.
So how's your research looking?
Well, I'm going through SteamDB, which is a great wealth of information. If anybody listening hasn't used or logged into SteamDB, I highly recommend that you do because it has just about every metric you could want. However, I'm still having trouble finding total users. Like I'm getting plenty of information on post rewards and number of posts created, so on and so forth. But it's not broken down by users, like how many users total. Of
It
course, that
has
could just
everything
be
you
because
want
I'm
except for
not using it
this.
correctly. It's probably just because I'm not
Every-
using it correctly. I mean, we all know that I'm worthless.
Whoa, who told you that?
I said it.
No one says that about you that you know of.
Yeah, well, I said it. What? Fight
Oh.
me.
Fight me IRL.
I bet you wouldn't say that to my face.
Catch me outside. How about that?
Damn.
So yeah.
Let's see here.
So what was the last you heard as users?
Last I heard, as far as active users go, well, actually, total users was over 500,000 last I checked, and I think total users is something in the range of like 20% of that usually, or at least that's what it's been, somewhere around there.
I wonder if Steam Reports has any information on that.
Well, I'm taking
Yeah.
a look right now, so we'll see.
Let me see. Voting, delegation, developers, services and reports for Steam developers, financial, witnesses, other tools. Nope, I don't need that.
I guess we'll never. I guess we won't have an answer anytime soon.
Yeah.
Hang on. Who else? Ah, crap. There was. Who was it? There was somebody. There was a user that I follow, and I can't remember who it is, but they usually did use reports. I have to find it again. I don't know. I'll get an answer for you eventually, rat bastard.
Yeah, as Buck says, tomorrow I'll be getting 6 blocks of patience. Oh, what is this?
Hey, Pensive. There you go. Thank you. And it was Archange. That's what I was thinking of.
Okay, so it looks like 30. I see 30 users or 30 last 30 days, and it looks to be around the what is that? What does it say to you about almost
Active
30,000?
active users is between 200,000 and 250,000. Or I'm sorry, 250,000 and 300,000. So like somewhere around 270, 275. Total users is like around 460,000. So 270,000 active users over 460,000 total users.
Wait a minute here. What am? Oh, okay. I see what you're looking at. I was looking at the graph underneath that and thinking you had lost your mind. So we have active unique users looks to be about 30,000, if I'm reading that correctly.
Yes. Yes, you are.
Cool. So there we go. So we can say on a weekly basis, wow, that's really gone up since. What is that? I got to turn my head to the side. Man, there's a big jump since what is that, May?
June and July. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
May is when it started, but June is when it shot up like a rocket, and then it kind of peaked up at like around what 81,000 is what it's saying.
Yeah, that's yeah. I have to tilt my head and look at my second monitor, which is a little far away. So I've lost the ability to read things. My head is in the correct position. Yeah, retention is awful. And Pensive. One of the questions I always had on retention was people that come in and they make a real nice introduce yourself post, get a nice 30, 40, 50, $70 post, and then their second post they're feeling pretty good and it's 5 cents. Third post, 5 cents. um, you sort of plump these people up and then all of a sudden they fall off, and I think we lose a lot of people because of that.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to. Most people see, because I think our tagline right now is blog make money or something like that.
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah.
Well, it transmits the message that you come here to write posts and make money, right? And so when people don't see that happening in the first, within 30 days, usually you see a lot of turnover in 30 days, or at least that's what I've noticed.
I have to take a look, Pensive. Now you say that. Is Curie still had the big vote? I thought they lost theirs from Freedom. Did they ever get that back?
Well, I mean, even without freedom, Curie still has an enormous amount of influence.
Yeah.
I mean, God, I remember when Curie got started, and that was like a month or two after I got on here last year. So it's like they're huge now. They were the first name in the game, pretty much. I am not
Are
advertising anything.
No, and not you. Um, are you advertising unrealistic expectations? No, because you do get paid for posting. It may not be as much as you expect, but they do not promise you a certain amount. So the expectations are from the user coming in. I think the unrealistic expectations comes from the people that get those big introduce yourself posts.
Yeah, and I mean that was one of the things that really surprised me when I first came here was I got $30 on my introduce myself post. Of course, after that I got like 2 cents per post for a couple of weeks, and then I got lucky and got a good one on a fiction piece, and then kind of here and there, sort of erratically. But yes, once you get the big birthday present, you expect it to be your birthday every day.
Sometimes I wish it was my birthday every day.
That's the other thing. Something has got to be done about the trending page.
Oh yeah,
It
yeah, yeah.
just
The
it
trending
is
pages.
managing the expectations of new users coming to the platform. Unless we change our focus, which honestly I would rather that we did it that way, because I really don't think we should be focusing on, okay, you can come here and blog and make money, because the likelihood that you'll make money or a significant amount of money to be make it worth your while, it's not really a realistic thing for people to expect, and I don't think that should be kind of pushed. You know, Granted, there are no guarantees that are made, but still, if you say, blog make money and you make 2 cents per blog post, it's not really encouraging, I guess.
Yeah, it's
Um,
not encouraging. It's not exactly I wouldn't call that false advertising, but it's not exactly what you would think. I'm like, all right, I can make money, even just like 5, $10 a week right off the bat. Okay, that you can sort of see it's not enough to live on, but it's enough to make it sort of worthwhile.
I think to really manage user expectations that are coming to the platform, there has to be like a different tack taken as far as, um, what people's interests are, I guess is the best way I can put it.
Yeah, more you're right on that.
A different mode of advertising the platform is going to be the best way to do it.
And Muxie brings a good point that it's more than what you'll get on Facebook. That's for sure. But of course, Facebook is here's a picture of my dinner, and I had this half-eaten bowl of rice, but it was really tasty, guys.
Well, see, and the problem with saying more than Facebook is, yes, you can make more than Facebook, but also Steemit is not geared towards Facebook like community engagement, so it's not there. It's not really equivalent. The experience doesn't really transfer from one to the other. Like, you're not seeing a whole bunch of social media type posts on Steemit. I mean, some people are, but really, it's not. That's really not where the bulk of content comes from. Most of the content is, generally speaking, more thought out and more kind of in depth than a lot of the stuff that you see on Facebook. So user engagement is much easier and smoother on Facebook than it is here. So you're not going to have the same experience, and people's expectations of what you can make on in terms of what you can do on the platform kind of need to be readjusted. Either that, or we need to just like Steemit Incorporated just needs to come up with a solid plan. Like here, we're going to push this type of user interaction, and this is what we want to see on the platform.
Well, you got to think that they have to see all of these discords that have been popping up. There are now dozens and dozens, probably hundreds of discords where people are creating their own groups, which is cool to see, but it also sort of shows a need for the platform. And it's I don't have the answer. I don't know how that would interact with the blockchain, but I think as soon as they get communities going, I think this could take off. It's possible the SMTs work with helping to build the communities also. You build your own coin, all of a sudden you have a community sort of built around that token, and I don't know. We'll see.
Well,
It's so
communities are
many
going to be
questions.
communities are going to be good in my opinion because they're going to break up the vast swath of content there is. Because like, let's face it, no matter how good curators we want to be, we're not going to get to all of it. We really are not. Like, very few people have the amount of time to really put in to do that. So most of it's done by bots. But the nice part about communities is it's going to break it up to where it's going to be digestible focuses of information. And you combine that with SMTs to incentivize people to seek out particular types of content, and I think it's going to increase user engagement in particular areas. So I think that's going to go a long way to making it just easier to connect on the platform and to get to the information that you want to see as opposed to being inundated with everything.
Yeah, I agree. Fully agree.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Geek. I think if you break up the sum total of all the content into different categories and then subdivide those into smaller categories with, particular SMTs and stuff like that, you're going to see, I think, better user engagement overall, and I think more people are going to be uh, getting to more content because they're going to be able to discern what it is they're looking at. And I think we'll also see a reaction in terms of what content is being produced based on being able to better tell what's popular and what's not, what has more user engagement, what doesn't.
People want to join communities without rich players in there to give them good upvotes. Without rich or with rich?
No, without. He's saying that people won't have incentive to join communities where there's like a bunch of plankton and minnows that don't have any
Oh,
ability to
he's saying
upvote
will
people.
I'm sorry. Will people? I thought I reversed that and read that as people will want to. So my mistake. Sorry. So let me see here. Problem with communities will be wealth. Yeah, yeah, you're right. So maybe that we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I think communities are needed, and if a community is needed enough, that may be a way for someone that leads that community to pull themselves up by the bootstraps and turn themselves into a dolphin and whale pretty quickly.
Well, I think there's going to be there's going to be some of that just because people are going to be seeking that dollar. But I think that in terms of community building, I think we're going to see that whales, uh, well, particularly the more socially conscious whales, are going to seek out and invest in different groups. But yeah, like you said, communities will be good, but there will be some bumpy days ahead until they smooth out. So yeah, I think at the beginning it's going to have to it's going to be seeking out its equilibrium point and seeking out different social conventions regarding it. But at the same time, given a little bit of time, I think overall it's going to be a good direction to move into. Oh yeah, if Writer's Block got well evolved, that would be awesome. That would be sweet.
I tell you what, you get graduated, you get that lawyer gig going, become the Alabama lawyer that rocks, and that could happen.
Oh yeah, I'll totally whale it out, man. No problem. No problem, Bob. That's what I'm looking forward to. The day that I can dump $500,000 on this platform.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
I wish I had $500,000 to do it. I wish I had bought like 10,000 Bitcoin when it was like, you know, $2.
Doesn't that make you sick?
I mean, I wouldn't have had any way to get my hands on $20,000, but still, I would wish I could have. Wish I
What
could have.
was did you when Bitcoin did its first jump to around, what was it, 1200, 1300, 3 or 4 years ago? What was the story? Did you hear about that? The kid that like a week or two after Bitcoin launched decided to write a paper for his college class on Bitcoin and this new cryptocurrency. And in doing so, he actually bought some Bitcoin and bought, at that time, I think it was like 17, maybe it was $25 worth of Bitcoin. And he kind of forgot about it up until it hit that 1,000 range. And then he went looking around, was able to find his information, and is now a cool millionaire due to it.
Yeah, if only. It's there's plenty of those kinds of stories. Plenty
Oh,
of those
yeah.
kinds of stories. Well, there was like that one guy that, way, way, way back when, it was in 2009, 2008, 2009, paid like 20 Bitcoin for a pizza. That was one expensive ass pizza, I'll tell you what.
Oh, that better be the best tasting pizza ever.
Well, there was
Whew.
I have a friend of mine who bought 72 Bitcoins when they were $2 a Bitcoin. Right, when it was $2 per Bitcoin.
Wow.
And he sold out when it was 1,000. When it reached like 1,200 is when he sold all of his Bitcoin. He didn't really particularly need the money. He just was like, okay, well, I've made a unbelievable amount of profit on it, so I'm just gonna rock and roll on out of here. And yeah, now it's at 11,000, and he's like, I want to shoot myself in the face,
Yeah.
and I don't
But
blame him.
I still kick myself for losing my money in MT Gox during that time. I see that
Yeah.
price raise. I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, oh, I just get sick and sick and sick. Shit happens. I still have to pay rent, still have to work.
Hey, that's interesting. Did you see Shadows Pub's message in the
Is
chat?
Oh, look at this. Is blockchain a programming language?
And
Nice.
it kind of is. I mean, well, like for example, some of them run on graphene, some of them have their own code, but I mean, yeah, it kind of is. It's a different mode of programming. So yeah, it's getting into the mainstream. I have a buddy of mine who was talking about told me about he went to the gas station. He was like, "Man, I wish I didn't have to pay in dollars." And the gas station attendant was like, "Well, we don't accept Bitcoin right now, but
Yeah, it's as soon as the blockchain becomes part of the public conscious, it's going to it's going to be an interesting ride, especially here.
yeah." And I think going to what Geek said with Bitcoin, you pretty much got to hodl, take your profits, but you got to hodl. Um,
Gotta.
I think I've mentioned it elsewhere, but Bitcoin is turning into basically the preferred medium of exchanges. So it's essentially it's a store of value now rather than a transactional currency. Um, the whole really the usefulness in Bitcoin is that you can use it in any exchange. Pretty much, it's universally accepted to exchange into other coins. So pretty much every altcoin out there is in some form or another backed by Bitcoin at this point. So Bitcoin is less a replacement for dollars that you use day to day, and more of this is what banks would normally have used gold for to back the currency that they would issue, the IOUs that they'd issue. Which I find it funny because we're in the cryptocurrency market now. There's like a free range of competition for currencies for different types of currencies, and there's a reserve currency has kind of come out of the woodwork, and now we have essentially a gold backed currency system of competing currencies in cyberspace. That's just like the coolest thing in the world. Like something that took the modern real world like more than 1,000 years to kind of develop has developed in cyberspace in like the span of what 10 years.
Well, yeah, but once it's done once, it's easy to repeat.
It's cool. It's a hell of a time to be alive, man. What a time to
Yeah.
be alive.
Oh, what a country, huh? Gonna
Oh, it's
piss off.
already pissing off the Rothschilds and
Yes.
the Rockefellers and everybody else.
Who? There was another one today that's. See, I only catch snippets, so I'm glad I have this ready on my mind. But there was another one today complaining about it, and I forgot who it was. Good
Well, I mean,
story, Shane.
like Pete Schiff complains about Bitcoin all the time, but he's heavily invested in precious metals, which are not as unregulated as Bitcoin is. So it's not like it's kind of like Bitcoin's taking away from his potential profit. So I can kind of understand why he's continuously going on about Bitcoin. But there's so many other people that are like, oh, it's another bubble. It's about to burst, which is the same thing they said at like $300, $1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 7,000, 9,000, 10,000, 11,000. It's, you know.
So, did you see where Zcash is going to do another one of their ceremonies? I guess.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, they're getting ready to do another one of their big ceremonies that they were talking about. There was a
You cut out, boss. Well, you were saying there was a what?
oh, Radiolab. Are you familiar with Radiolab? It's a
I am
podcast.
not.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool podcast. Someone should check that out because it's pretty cool. And they did a show on the first Zcash ceremony that they did, and they were doing live interviews, and it was pretty interesting. All the steps they went through to try to make this as transparent and as secure as possible. It was super interesting. Let me see if I can find that real quick.
Well, in the
Here
meantime,
we
we have
go.
dead air. But here, Shane's back. I was actually responding to a message from my girlfriend. So
What?
yeah, you know that girl that I'm in a relationship with.
No, I didn't know. I was not aware of this. There it is, the ceremony. So this is a pretty interesting program to listen to when they decided to do this whole ceremony to make it as it's pretty cool to listen to. So what else has been happening with you?
That's pretty much it. We've covered all the bases of anything interesting happening in my end. So I got nothing
Yeah,
else.
yeah, I don't have much else of anything either. Um, Helping Asaria launch. She launched MSP Music. She's trying to do some curation.
Hey,
Oh,
cool.
Andre, were you here? Were you aware? Your name was on a big list that a few of us were on.
Yeah. I saw that. I was supremely pleased and humbled by having my list on or my name on a list of people worth supporting.
Yeah, I saw that and I'm like, hey, there's me. Hey, I know him. I know her. I know him. I know her.
Yeah,
It was
that was
just
the
a
other
nice.
thing. Is like most of the names on this list are people I know.
Yeah, it was like only two or three that I didn't recognize. I don't know, Geek. I don't know if anything will come of it or not. I did notice that my followers did spike just a tiny bit, maybe like a 5% jump,
I
almost
got.
overnight.
I mean,
So,
I got I think 10 followers out of that on my blog, and then I think I got a couple of witness votes.
oh, Muxie got a delegation and a follower spike. Look at Mux.
Hey, look at you, buddy. It's a
How
good
did
thing we'll
how
be
did
getting rid of delegations soon.
how did the monkfish get a delegation out of this? Out of all the people here, how did he get a delegation?
I don't know. I'm still waiting on mine.
Yeah, Geek's waiting on hers. No, it was cool to see my name on there. Yeah, I am the Mux. Um, yeah, I don't know if anything will come of it. If it does, cool. If not, that's cool too. It was just really nice to see the name on the list with a lot of people that I respect on there.
Yeah, that was the big thing for me. Is just recognition that I'm worth something as far as being a positive figure here on Steam It. It's like I've said elsewhere. I've put a lot of belief and a lot of my time and effort into Steam It and trying to build connections with people here and try and make things better and help people. So it's nice to see that that hasn't gone unnoticed. Like I'm not in here. I'm not in it for the fame. I'm in it because I enjoy talking to people and having fun with people and building good things. But it's still nice to get acknowledged for that every once in a while.
Yeah, you're worth it to me, buddy.
And you're worth it to me, buddy. You'll always have my upgoat.
Oh, how that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me tonight.
Just tonight, though, right? Not at
Exactly.
any other. Just
tonight. Yeah. All right.
It's
you got
not like
else?
that. It could
not
be like
yet.
that.
Not yet.
Sometimes.
So, you got anything else?
No, I don't have anything else. What about you?
No, that pretty much wraps it up for me this week.
Well, I think we could wrap up the show on that. I think we've covered everything we were intending to cover, and I think we had some pretty good conversations about everything.
Let's give John King Ryder one more chance. You have any last questions before we get out of here? I was pretty happy. He was on listening to the Shane and Muck show, and I think was it your second or third day, and he actually won one of our delegations for the Slider Fest.
Hey, that's cool. Good for you, buddy.
That actually pleased me to no end. I was real excited. Yeah, it's completely random, but that just made me real excited. Your second or third day here, and you were able to taste the slider. Now, don't get used to that taste. It goes away in well, I guess about 21 days now.
Shane, you're creating unrealistic expectations in new users.
You know what? That's possible. Now you say that, I feel
Look
bad.
what
Sorry,
you're
buddy.
doing.
For
Shane.
I'm sorry. I broke the blockchain, everyone.
50 Shanes of Blame. Anyway, we'll go ahead and call it on that. Go ahead. You can find us again next week. Next Friday. It's gonna be same time as today is 6:30 Central Standard Time until tonight it was 8 o'clock. Could be 9 o'clock next time. Could be 7:30. Who knows? But it's definitely going to start at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's every Friday. I think we'll probably just call it quits for the holidays while we go and spend time with our families. But what? Do you not have family?
Yeah, in St. Louis and in Florida. I'm down here in Texas.
Well, good for you. I have family here where I live.
Ah!
It is the holidays after all. But I don't know. We'll keep you guys appraised, and we'll let you guys know if anything's going to change. But in the meantime, expect us again on Fridays, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time until whenever we finish. And once again, this has been me and Arco Andre and the fantastic and indomitable Shane on the State of the Witness podcast. Until next time, you guys have a wonderful evening and keep steaming.
Night, guys.